Good Friday afternoon, everybody. I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in Denver. With me in Chicago, Mr. Peter Thomas. How are you, sir?
Hey, it's been an exciting week. I'm doing great. Bored out of my mind like everyone else, kind of on lockdown here, and been able to do some very exciting reading. Bloomberg sent me the new guidelines for air pollution on cars, 1,275 page guideline, and I from the EPA, and they said, "Hey, why don't you go over this and give us a little feedback on what you think, how it's going to influence PGMs?" And I went, "Oh, sure, I'll just jump right on it."
Well, here's my guess. As the uneducated guess,
Ah,
I'm going to say it's going to require a load increase in catalytic converters.
wrong.
Ah!
How's
All
this
right.
for it? Our president said, "Hey, these numbers are and expectations are far too high, especially in the current situation that we are in. We are going to
All right.
reduce the NO2 and the CO2 demands, and we're going to allow about I, now because the thing was so gigantic. Let me. I honed it down. I said, look, if we get the infrastructure bill passed, what are we going to do? We're going to sell 60 or 70% of the vehicles are going to be light trucks because that's what the guys are all going to get new vehicles because they're going to need them for work. So that'd be the highest turnover. So I read that section. So now that I've kind of predicated that, the numbers crunch down to about 1.5% increase. That's what it looks like. I talked to the guys in a scrap metal yard today that do a lot of AutoCADs. They're saying about 2% less metal consumption, which is literally a drop in the bucket,
Right.
But so is it going to take any pressure off? Minuscule, absolutely minuscule,
Yeah, I would
but
think
some.
it almost wouldn't be worth the effort to kind of retool for a different load of that magnitude, a change in load, even for the negative.
Well, let's get in. I mean, if how many trucks do you make? That's what your retool number is. Are you going to sell 5 million, 10 million trucks? If it's $20 a truck in product numbers, well, then yeah, you will retool. I
Yeah.
mean, not a question. I mean, it just the bare bones reality will drive that. So we'll see how that ends up. But just so our viewers know, we are up on the new EPA rules and how it's going to affect PGMs. And we've had a little discussion with some of the researchers at Bloomberg who really do their homework. I love that metals test there, and that's what it looks like, and that's what it's going to be.
All right. So let's talk about the metals in general. The
Sure.
PGMs. Metals in general were a little bit easier. What I liked about
Yeah.
this week, it was generally consolidative. Again, kind of larger than normal ranges, but within the recent ranges. So we saw platinum down about 3% this week, uh, palladium down about 4.5%. Gold and silver were down only about 0.5%, a little bit less than 0.5% actually. So a
Yeah, Gold
relatively
really put in
calm
good.
week.
Yeah, Gold really put in a good performance if you think about it. It held these highs. It got hit with some pressure, came back. I like the term you use, consolidating. That's kind of what it felt like. We saw some commercial interest in palladium. I think what happened was some CEOs looked and went, we're going to need this stuff at the end of the year, and they still aren't going to find it by magic. So maybe we'll
Right.
buy it down here. And we saw some good volume in there. So consolidation is the word. That's what we'll call Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what. And with regards to another chart, I also noticed that the Fed tacked on about another $500 billion to its balance sheet this week. So
They went to the petty cash box, broke it open, took out a little wad, just kind of threw it out there.
yeah, so I posted that chart last week. I'll post it again because I find it fascinating. But we went from when it shot up above 5 trillion last week to 5.25 trillion, that was an impressive jump, and we're up to 5.81 trillion as of Wednesday this week. So they continue to crank up the cash machine.
Yeah. Oh, it's not inflationary, is it, big?
Well, interesting you say that. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the biggest components of inflation is oil, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
and all the crack and everything thereof, from plastics to asphalt. So
right.
yes, absolutely.
So oil got quite a big rally off of news that Saudi Arabia and Russia had agreed to cut production. So we
Yeah,
saw
the Crown
the
Prince and
biggest,
Putin kissed and made up. Yeah, exactly
right.
right. Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
romantic.
It was, wasn't
The
it?
so it was up like 20%. It was like the biggest one-day rise in oil ever.
Yep.
So it was up like 20% yesterday. I'm not sure where it closed
We,
exactly,
we
but
were
I'll
up
I'll throw it up.
we were up 4.5% earlier today. I didn't look at the close. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry,
think
I
it I
missed
think
that.
it was up like 12% or something at one point today. But again, I'll put the chart up
Right.
during production so we can take a look at that. But yeah, it's definitely a pretty impressive rally in oil, and I don't know necessarily that the bottom is in. Talking to one of my clients whose wife is in the oil and gas industry, and the folks in Texas are kind of worried that we could still see $10 in oil, and that was even after the big rally yesterday.
Well, the real, I mean, seriously, when we were discussing it and oil was at $19, and we just sort of looked at people and went, we're not oil traders, but guess what? When you go from 75 to 19, maybe this is a bargain. And it didn't matter what the excuse was, it snapped back. And
Yeah,
and the question now becomes storage and consumption.
yeah. Storage
And
is a huge issue right now.
oh yeah, absolutely. I saw people were buying or leasing tankers, filling them with crude at these low levels. I mean, like 17, $16 a barrel,
Yeah.
and filling them up and just anchoring them with the idea that at some point during the year, the return is certainly going to beat the point 0.2 you're getting on your T-bills.
Right. And people need to look no further than their own neighborhood and highways to kind of get the fundamentals of all of that. I mean, I went to pick up technology at my kids' school, which sends me right through the heart of the Denver business district, and there was nothing. I went straight there and straight back,
Oh yeah.
no
Oh yeah.
traffic.
I mean, I'm doing call ahead, pick up the dinner, and they come out with the rubber gloves and the mask, and they drop it in your car seat, and
Yeah,
then you go back home. And I mean, and so I'm being a good a coronavirus advocate, and that's it. I mean, I'm just, you know, dinner and that's it.
right, right. Well, let's talk a little bit about coin supply and
Okay.
coin and bar supply. I noticed that with a little bit of calm in the markets, we saw some premium moderation this week as well, both in gold and silver, which was good to see. Product is still hard to get though, particularly
Yeah.
smaller product.
Right.
I'm finding that I've got good availability on larger size bars, for example, 100 and
Right.
1,000 ounce bars in silver, 100 ounce bars in gold.
In gold. Right.
Um, Decent availability on gold eagles, even some
Okay.
availability on silver eagles. Still pretty stiff premium on the silver
Yeah.
eagles these days.
Yeah.
Um, but what are you hearing in that niche of the industry?
Well, I mean, I'm hearing exactly what you are, and I'm agreeing with you. The premiums are still stiff, and we saw the Perth Mint is officially shut down now. The availability of silver to the United States Mint appears to have slowed down, if they have any at all, because of just basically all the mines being shut down.
Right.
So, and there was one other mine. There was Perth. uh,
RCM is shut down.
RCM, that was it. Royal Canadian Mint shut down also, right? So the big three are pretty much not producing. So I think it's just going to get tighter, Pete. I don't see these premiums coming down for a little bit. Do you?
Yeah. I mean, not in any significant way, it seems, unless some miracle happens and refining capacity and mining capacity returns.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's a supply chain that happens to these mints, and
Right.
once it gets disrupted, it's disrupted, and you need to get back online and have the pipeline fill again, and it takes time.
It does take time, and just for the workers to get into their rhythm, getting down, and we did the special on getting down in the elevators, and the rotation as to the locker rooms, and then getting out and getting that flow as to getting the ore going, getting the crushing machines running properly. That all takes time, and you're 100% right. It doesn't happen overnight, and from the time you flip the switch, it says on till the time it comes out of the end of the crusher and then goes into the refining, it could be 30 days.
Right. Well, I guess I just want to say, to everybody in Chicago, certainly that we have been. I'm proud of everybody, and we've been pretty effective at getting product, both for our retail clients and our wholesale clients. It takes a lot more work these days. It's just not like running the website anymore. you gotta you gotta make calls, and fortunately, we are well connected,
Yeah.
and we've been able to source product.
I mean,
And
we're one of the oldest. We're 40 years of what we're doing in downtown Chicago. We're one of the only brokerage houses registered, fingerprints, pictures taken, people that are reliable and deal in metal. And I think that that's coming out. And I think something else that you didn't mention is I'm really proud of the guys manning Tornado. That hedging vehicle has saved more companies in this madness than people will ever know.
that's a really good point, and we hear that from them every
Yeah.
day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But people don't understand that when you see gold break $70 in a day, and our guys are there manning the man, it's just there, man, just handling the volume of orders coming through to make sure our guys are protected and that the value of their inventories doesn't get lost. I mean, I'm really proud of what we did and what they've done. It really is amazing.
And I would also point out that we didn't widen our spreads.
No,
Um,
no,
we
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Right, and I know that some dealers were suddenly using futures to price product. We didn't do that,
Nope.
so they were attacking on a pretty hefty premium
Oh, yeah.
for that. And if they had been on Tornado, they wouldn't have had to, because we were pricing live, tradable through that entire thing. And I'm not saying it's necessarily over, but I think if we can survive the last, not this past week, but the previous 2 weeks to that,
Right.
without
Right.
widening spreads, to providing liquidity, and I would point out massive liquidity to our clients. The
Yeah.
order flow
Huge.
was huge,
Huge. Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
and we didn't miss a beat.
Nope.
So kudos to our IT staff,
Yep. Oh, our
and
IT
and the
staff has just been
traders.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's great. And
And we got people working all over the place and calling in and staying up. And I was on with Singapore till 3 o'clock in the morning last night. I mean, we have really, I think, done a better job than anybody in this industry.
that's a hearty attaboy to everybody at Zaner Metals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So very quickly, I wanted a little breakthrough here. The CME has the new contract coming out, Pete. The kilo 100 ounce, 400 ounce bar contract coming along, and Barbara Schmidt has reached out to me. She's been a friend of ours at Zaner for a very long time, and just a great person. And she's coordinating between Chicago, New York, and London.
Well, tell
And
everybody who Barbara Schmidt is.
well, Barbara Schmidt is, in my opinion, is probably one of the better coordinators at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And her function, she kind of brings together all the various factions that they have over there. And she's actually coordinating a meeting with us, with the entire metals group, hopefully in a week or two, to take the time to bring members like us up to speed on a brand new product. And that to me is hats off to her. Really, thank you,
Yeah.
Barbara. We really appreciate it.
I would normally demand that I be flown in for that meeting so that I could go to a Cubs game.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I had nothing to do with pizza and Cubs. It was just for that meeting, right? Okay.
Keep me in mind anyways. I'd
All
come in
right.
for that.
All
I'd
right.
put my mask on and my hazmat suit and fly in.
Yeah, really.
And
But
you also had a conversation with the e-waste industry, I believe. We'll try and get that linked and posted as
yes,
well.
as you know, we've been pushing the last 2 years into e-waste and general scrap as well. And they're really, with these moves, some of these guys have really gotten hurt. 50-cent break in copper is gigantic, and they're buying and storing in their yards, and they've really gotten hurt. So they're really starting to want to understand hedging and use Tornado in the scrapyard.
Right,
So
right.
it's,
And particularly with copper, it's important to note that nobody has a product like ours because we can hedge down to the pound.
we're the only guys that can do it. We created that contract a year ago just for that reason, because guys don't exactly get 25,000 pounds to throw on the truck. They get 18,500, and so now they're not hedged. They have a tail, and so Tornado has effectively removed that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nice.
Yep.
Any other salient points, maybe one or two from that conversation, or should we just wait
Uh,
for the video to
we
come out, the
we'll wait
podcast?
we'll wait for the video to come out.
Okay.
There's a lot of real interesting questions that the guys asked because they're newbies to it, and I think it was a 45-minute conversation, so we'll just tack it
Yeah.
on and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, with that, I wish you a wonderful weekend and enjoy the peace and quiet there in the bunker.
You got it, man. Locked
I
and
am dying to
loaded,
get out.
baby. I know you're not
Yeah,
alone, my friend.
yeah. Well,
All right.
everybody, have a great one. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Give us a like, and we'll catch you next week. I'm Peter Grant, Zaner Metals in Denver.
Pete Thomas here in Chicago. If you haven't seen our coronavirus video, our podcast, please take a look at it. It could save the lives of some of your crew if you are not on lockdown, if you are an essential team. There's some really good advice on it. Thank you and see you later.